All right, folks, if you can come in and take your seat, we're going to get started here. This next talk is going to be on Caliptra with Andreas from Google, me, Bryan from Microsoft, Prabhu from AMD, and Paul from NVIDIA.
All right, let's get going. Hi, everyone. Thank you. That's a lot of attendance. That's really nice. So these are our headshots. Some of them are AI generated, and whoa, and yeah. Sorry, it had to be said. It had to be said. But you know, some of you, many of you have been to many Caliptra presentations already. So it seems there's two of us. Our collective ego is too large. Everybody else backed out. So just a very quick refresher, right? We released 2.0 now-ish, are in the process of releasing 2.0 now-ish, with a 2.1 iteration really, really soon. As mentioned 1 year ago, there are two primary goals here. We'll talk about them, but there are basically three primary goals. They revolve around support for storage, key management, support for post-quantum cryptography, and adding a new profile, which is called the subsystem mode. So our presentation today is supposed to be fairly short, bring you up to speed with what's happening, what we're excited about, and where we're going. You can see also the 2.2, a milestone which is tagged for some time in 2026, right? Where we're looking at some of the things we couldn't do there and some critical additions that we've learned are necessary based on where the industry is going. So let's talk about the things that we're really, really, really excited about right now. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things we're excited about is that there's products. GA is general availability. So the GA dates for some of the Caliptra integrations that have already happened. They've been in the works for some time. Those are getting very, very close to products. So we'll start to see some products in market with Caliptra integrated. We're seeing integrations across CPUs, GPUs, baseboard management controllers, DPUs, and now with OCP lock, we're seeing it on the horizon appear in SSDs. There's been more than 20 separate products already coming through the pipeline seeking trademark and license. So that's just to let you know it's in the pipeline. That are very, very close. So they've already, you're seeking the trademark when you've already integrated it into product, and that product's built, and now they're going through the review. We had a summit, a Caliptra Day, on Monday. Many of you, I'm sure, were there. We had 150 attendees from 32 different companies attend and take part in that review. So that was pretty productive on Monday. It also helped us with today, so we'd have fewer talks to contend with and make this day a little bit easier, where we could discuss some other topics. But yeah, we'll try to do that every year as well, that same Caliptra Summit for folks.
So we've been doing this for a few years now, right? And when we set out to start, you never know if it's going to get big or not, if it's going to succeed or not. But we have a community, and we have products, right? So I think I don't know. It's a moment of taking stock of a lot of progress. In 2.1, right, which is the next thing, which is something we should look into. We should expect tagging in late Q4, early Q1. Open source PQC, of course, one of the primary building blocks. Now we have clarity as an entire community. We have CNSA recommendations. We know where things are going, right? So those are getting implemented. MLK and MLDSA. You have an open source silicon implementation for that. The other thing, core and subsystem choice, right? You can choose your destiny. You can have the traditional Caliptra crypto and DICE engine tied to an SoC management engine, or you can have a batteries included subsystem, right? Where the subsystem is going to take care of booting your device. Of course, there's a lot more integration there with fuses, IOs, etc. But you can have those, and that's targeting a growing segment of the Caliptra adoption market. Lastly, the third thing that is critical in 2.1 is this is the moment where we say OCP lock is ready for use. It's available. You have the open source implementation. You can take it into your storage device and use right? So all these three things are coming together in 2.1. It's probably our largest milestone. It's definitely our largest and most impactful milestone today. We have our licensing framework live. This was a topic last year in this presentation. People raised concerns about this. This is now something that, as we mentioned before, we have multiple products going through. We have the rules of how to do this. This isn't meant to be a heavyweight process. You know, we're not talking about FedRAMP or anything like that. This is a process meant to uphold the work of the community, right? We want integrations that are faithful to the quality of the work that the community has put into. So we're trying to make sure that anything that claims to integrate Caliptra is holding onto those standards. Let's go to 2.2. Do you want to talk about that one, Bryan?
Yeah, so a lot of times we get asked what's next, what's coming up after, you know, we've just released the Caliptra 2.1 RTL on Monday, and we've been asked, hey, what's next on the horizon? So this gives an update on what we're thinking about for Caliptra 2.2. Some more countermeasures in the risk core. I think that will help with some of the size and area reduction that we're putting in 2.2 as well. A big one, or probably the reason for a 2.1, is we really want to have USB as the streaming boot media, both for performance and extensibility. We know I3C has some performance drawbacks that will get improved with USB. USB is also coming out on all connectors, so we're looking forward to that. And then some things we're looking at that may be a little bit longer term to that are going to be UCIe and whether we do something in the chiplet space or not. I think that's still coming together, and we're looking to determine that. Another thing we're looking at in 2.2 is size reduction, both in SRAM and maybe some other optimizations we can make. As we add more countermeasures, we can take countermeasures out of firmware as we harden some of the countermeasures that are in plan. And of course, big part of Monday and the Caliptra Day was talking about contributions, active contributions. They're always welcome. We're looking for contributions into Caliptra and into the roadmap. So we're expanding the Thursday chip calls to have an additional call for contributors. So I know there's a call for just Q&A. Anybody that's integrating will have a more tactical call as well for contributors and any questions on how they go about contributing and what they're contributing and this roadmap. So yeah.
You want to talk about UCIe? I mean, that's way further out.
Yeah, UCIe is further out, but we are looking at what to do on the chiplet space, right?
Right. So if you've been reading about UCIe, every chiplet may need some amount of cryptography or identity. And we're thinking that Caliptra can play a role there, but this is very early conversation. So we wouldn't even say that it's part of 2.2. That's why it's longer term. So the message today, right? I mean, we have a pretty large community. We have a lot of integrations. We're arriving to a pretty material and momentous milestone. We believe in 2.2 as a necessary thing because we're seeing where USB is going to take us, and we're adding passengers there in area reduction and countermeasures. So we're really, of course, looking forward to the community to give us feedback, to tell us what's wrong, to tell us what's missing, to do offensive security before anybody tapes in. That's very important. But also to contribute to the 2.2 roadmap, right? If you feel you can pull off the USB 2.0 trick, if you feel you can pull off area reduction, please come to the table, right? This is a very large community by now. You can see some of the critical contributors and adopters, I guess that's the word. And the useful links there, our website, the QR will take you there, our discussion channels. Really meant this to be short, just give you a sense of where we are, and use the rest of the time for Q&A, basically, on what we presented to you today.
So why USB 2 and not 3?
I mean, USB 2 is already 480, right? We're currently contending with I3C at 12. That's presenting challenges. I mean, at some point, people do care about, even in data center, they do care about speed of boot. A 40x improvement is pretty significant. And it keeps us in a 2-wire environment, which I think is very critical for practical sidebinds. I think also for everybody who's worried about the area, they're not welcoming USB 2.0. And they're going to welcome less USB 3.0. So it seems like the right choice at the time.
Reed?
So I wanted to ask, so in 2.1, it doesn't appear that there's basically, or with lock, or maybe even in 2.0, that you're carrying forward the passive mode for the core. Is that true?
No, we're carrying it forward, yes.
Pardon?
We are carrying it forward. There are interactions that are doing passive core.
But there's, like OCP lock depends on subsystem, not.
I think, okay, so I think Bryan will, will have a very strong opinion about that.
So he's right. So OCP lock absolutely depends on Caliptra subsystem. Correct.
Why is that?
For the AXI bridge, for the fuses, for the FIPS, for the zeroization. If you go through and review the spec, you'll see all the interactions with the subsystem, and it's just too tough to break that apart.
So if you're, in terms of contribution, if someone was willing to go do that, because to actually use it in other markets, because we have a lot of multi-market customers that would like to use Caliptra with some of our other solutions, and so to build a greater solution.
Are you aiming at some form of compatibility of lock with core?
Pardon?
Is that what your question is? Are you aiming at some form of compatibility of lock?
Yeah, I'm just saying if someone wanted to offer a contribution that would enable lock and other functionality that does that, I'm not saying that we'll do that today, but we would maybe consider it.
I mean, we're asking for contributions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think
those contributions will be welcome, right? If
Yeah.
somebody could contribute an open source solution that provides the same functionality and is better, absolutely.
Okay.
Right. So I don't know if you're thinking, I don't know, some of the concerns that Bryan mentioned. If you're thinking about initiating from core to write the keys into the engine, I mean, we would look into that for sure. We are asking for contributions. That's the message today.
Yeah, we have been working with the Caliptra for multiple generations, start from 0.8, 1.0, 2.0, 2.1. One thing I see that's a missing piece called the export license, export control, and export licenses. What do you think about this? If you guys in the future addressing this, because the product for SoC from us, we need to work not only for United States, but maybe somewhere export somewhere else. So in the same lines, we need to get the export license. So especially now we move to the 2.1, now we have high speed. AES become a public use, and also PQC algorithm for signings. Those can be generically used, but that's subject to evaluations for the export licenses. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a great question, first of all. So Caliptra is an open source implementation of a root of trust that gets integrated into products. Alone, Caliptra doesn't really get shipped as a product. So the products will still have to go through the normal regulatory requirements for products in different geographies. So the product level, that doesn't change. And the ingredients that are going into that, they don't individually get that kind of regulation. It's at a top level, right, that you're talking about?
No, actually, the reason I mentioned about this, that if we are going to injecting the logic into Caliptra core, dealing with the AES engines or crypto signing engines, then that's changing your RTLs.
Are you talking about different crypto algorithms, or are you talking about
Caliptra
export?
core, right? You are right now from 2.1, the AES become public use. You can using for other data use, right? But if we say for export licenses, we need to disable for those operations at certain countries. So that mechanism needs to be introduced into controlling or configuring these AES modules to be used or not to be used.
So to summarize, you want the open source RTL to have chicken bits to disable something
Yeah, you need
that
to somehow
would-
have a configuration mechanisms through the ECO or something. That's need to introduce some wires into
Yeah,
that
it's a
logic.
little bit of a different product, right? But why don't we take this offline?
Okay, sure.
I think you're bringing a very valid. I mean, this is the problem with growth, right? This is the growth dilemma. Now we need to deal with these other problems. Let's take this offline, right?
Sure.
I think we need to balance creating too many profiles and creating confusion with serving multiple markets as well. I think it's an unavoidable kind of dilemma for us.
You can address it at the SOC level too.
Yep,
You know,
that's true.
disable it if you add a chicken bit in your SOC to disable security for those markets, you can absolutely do it.
Okay.
But I want to emphasize, thank you. That's what we're looking for here, right? I mean, at least this is new and it's important.
Kind of a follow-up. Not sure if you have heard any feedback about 2.1. Caliptra kind of starting to get a little bit bloated, and without the specific use cases and where your SOC is going with Caliptra, right? It's kind of hard to convince customers, for example, you don't need subsystem, or you don't need OCP lock, or things like that. So it would be great to have clear guidance about those use cases and have even the ability to kind of fuse off things that you don't need as part of your design. Say you're not going to, storage devices, you don't need OCP lock.
So if you don't need OCP lock and you don't need subsystem, you can use the core profile, which is still supported.
Yeah, but today there's not a clear way to just like disable that with a fuse or, like
Yeah,
same chicken mix.
We're not building too many profiles, so one of the things that Caliptra addresses is not just security transparency, but consistency as well. We have heard feedback about size, SRAM size in particular, and we are addressing that in 2.2 is something we're looking at addressing.
Okay.
But yeah,
Thank you.
it's a valid point.
PQC is expensive though, right?
Yeah, everything PQC is large. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way around it. So there's, just to set the expectation too, the shrinkage of SRAM is going to probably be in the region of like 20%, maybe at max. Like Andreas mentioned, anything post quantum is large.
So I think to summarize a little bit the Q&A here, we heard about export control, which is a new problem. It's a success dilemma. And we heard about some desires to bring contributions to core or kind of clarify the dynamics between core and subsystem and lock.
So real quick too also, have you thought about having a simplification for adopter who want to not go the full Caliptra, but having like a Caliptra-like implementing in their own, let's say, the function in their own controllers and stuff like that, without necessarily having to adopt the OpenRTL, but like the functions of Caliptra?
Why? No, I'm not trying to be funny with that. So Caliptra's there. That's what Caliptra is. That's the functionality. You want to try to replicate it with something else?
Correct. Without having to use the OpenRTL, but because you have specific product or specific customer who might want to already have their own controllers and everything, and they want to integrate all those functions.
But the goal
Yeah,
of Caliptra is transparency and consistency. So you achieve that. How?
Yeah, but you have both of it, right? So you still have the consistency, but meaning you have the transparency, not necessarily the consistency, but the consistency is something that you can create. If you decide that, okay, you can have a Caliptra-like implementation where you have the same functions that are defined here, but implemented not necessarily in an OpenRTL, then that's something that, it's a question, is it something that is acceptable?
That could be probably have a different view on security transparency, but Caliptra is there. There's a trademark with Caliptra that is using that implementation that's there, not an alternative that's trying to be Caliptra.
Yeah, we're going back to the beginning of Caliptra, right? And what we were trying to do here, which was get to a high quality implementation that was shareable. It's open source code. You can take it or leave it, right? Just to be very obvious here, Caliptra has taken code from other places, open source code. There's a lot of blogs from OpenTitan. We're not saying this is OpenTitan, right? Because there's an OpenTitan trademark, right, that we're not claiming. there is a trademark license grant process, right? If you build something, you want to call it Caliptra, you need to go through the process. And if it's not following the guidelines of the Caliptra project, then that's it. I mean, you can do it. It's free code. It's open source with no guarantees, and that's the outcome.
Thanks.
Yep. So Andreas raises a good point there too. You can take the code from there and integrate it into any product in any way you want. It is Apache 2.0 license. So yeah, but to get the trademark, it has to be consistent with the trademark licensing requirements.
And
Right.
we have 20 of those in progress. So that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We have
Thank you,
security
everybody.
reviewers. So,